So let's continue to play with this concept a little more. Let's drag this up here. I'm going to copy and paste this one. Zoom in. I wonder if we fill in this with a little lighter shade of gray, which will eventually be a color. Let's put this in the back. I'm going to arrange, send it to back, and I'm going to change it to be a really light gray. That could work. I kind of like how it's shaded a little bit. And let's see if we can start incorporating a little color now. So one thing we could do is, let's go back up here. Let's make this kind of a blue gradient. Let's play with the blue and the water of the pipe. Let's do that. Okay, so let's go to, let me get my gradient. There's my gradient tab. Let's make it a generic gradient. And let's make it a little bit angled. And let's change it to 2 different shades of blue. Let's switch it to CMYK. And I do all my logo designs in CMYK. And I can always convert it to RGB at a later date. But I like to work in the CMYK environment for logo designs, for anybody that is curious. Do like a green, that looks kind of neat. Or maybe a darker, yeah, I like that. Make it darker so there's enough contrast. So that looks neat. I think this needs to be a lighter color. Really light, just so you can kind of barely see the circle. I think this little piece also needs to change as well. And we can, this is too dark, too stark of a contrast. So that's super dark, that's super light. Let's lighten this up a little bit. I think that'll make it look a little more modern and clean. Let's zoom out. Oops, a little too much. Let's kind of move this over so we get a little more of a clean palette here. I'll get this stuff out of the way. Okay, so let's play around with colors. I wonder if we take a swatch from this gradient, maybe that darker blue. Let's see what that is. Let's round that up to 100. Sometimes I like to round these numbers off to even numbers. I'm right here in the panel. So 172 and 9. So let's try it all this darker color blue. That looks nice, but let's have contrast between these two. I wonder if we make this dark gray. Go ahead and bring this window back over. Make all that a dark gray, maybe a medium gray. Just helps soften the logo a little bit. Not so stark in contrast. Keep lightening. I like that. Let's try some other versions. Let's get that out of the way. And let's continue to copy and paste. Let's try this. Let's try this as a gradient. So I need to outline all my text. So I'm just going to right click, create outlines. So now I'll be able to apply gradients to this. Let's make sure all that's grouped together. It's in one group. Get the eyedropper tool. I'm going to sample this and I'm going to go ahead and get my gradient. I'm going to do a nice, long, smooth transition. I think harsh transitions are really hard to pull off like that. I think that's tough unless you're going for a metallic look. I'm just going to keep trying to get the right sample. That's an option. This probably needs to be gray. That could work. Let's make that just a little bit darker, maybe right here. Perfect. So let's continue to play around with color. I made a duplicate of this down here and reverse the colors so that you have a dark neutral color on the main company name and kind of bringing out the color in the small headline. I think that works better because when you have blue here and you have blue here, once again that competes. So having something a little different, it works a little bit better. So let's go over here and see if we can't make this some colors that pop. So contrasting colors is really important in design. So let's go ahead and see if we can't put this on a solid background color. Kind of start getting some branded colors here. So I think something that would look really nice and opposite of what you would expect from a plumbing company would be a really beautiful purple color. So let me see if I can't double click this swatch and add a little bit more warm tones. There we go, kind of a royal purple. And what contrasts really well with purple, opposite on the color wheel, is yellow. But I'm going to do kind of a little bit of an orange yellow to make it pop out. So let's make this white, kind of reversing that out. Let's make this white and make it just a little bit skinnier. Let's see, I haven't outlined the path yet, so here's my stroke. So let me make it 4 and also make that white. And make our little selection here white as well. That we covered up the P. And I might have to make some adjustments. Great, so now we need a pop of color where that light gray is. So let's make that orange yellow color. So let's go ahead and click on this. Let's bring out our color swatch here. Let's add a little more red. A little darker maybe. Perfect. Oh, and our apostrophe got hidden. Let's make that white. Great, I think those are some nice contrasting colors. Let me tweak the purple, make it a little rich in tone. There we go, just a little bit richer. Let's see, click over here, you're going to get more faded gray area over here, but the color and the tone is going to get richer on this side of the palette. It's a little too blue, so let's bring this up and bring it that purple. Perfect. So that is an option, and I think there's a little detail that we can add here to make it look nice. So we'll do that next. So I wanted to add a little bit of a manual drop shadow instead of just selecting this and doing a drop shadow that would look generic. I want to do a little shadowing right under here to make it look like the P is resting as the top layer. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to grab kind of a medium gray color. Whoops. Let's go ahead and deselect that. I can always put that on a separate layer and lock it if I didn't want to accidentally grab it. But let's get our medium gray again. And let's trace this. And let's zoom in quite a bit. I'm going to trace where I think a little nice flat drop shadow would be. And this is popular in flat design because you don't really want to have anything blurred. You want to have everything flat and clean. So having a nice straight edge drop shadow looks really good. And I'll be able to kind of show you what this looks like in a minute. So I'm going to do Command and do the bracket, or I believe it's Alt if you're on Windows, and bracket, and just send it backwards in the layering system. Just a little cheat shortcut I use. Okay, now let's do our shortcut and zoom out. And let's sample, let's do a lighter gray. We don't want there to be such a harsh transition of that shadow. Let's do really light gray. So you see that? So now it looks like the P is casting a shadow right here. Let's straighten up that edge here. Let's make sure it's even on both sides. So it's just a little accent. I think it makes it look nice and flat. Let's do a little bit of a darker shadow. Maybe right there. Oop, that's too much. Let's go back. Just do a tiny bit more. There we go, perfect. We could even do a drop shadow here the same way, but I kind of like it just there. It looks nice. And I want to make this orange just a little deeper. So I'm going to move it over to the right. And there's my old color, there's my new color, and look at the more rich tone as I move to the right of this palette. Great. I'm really liking how this is coming along. Just tweak that right here, make that go up just a tad. Doing some font tweaking. I think this could be our final choice, although I may extend that drop shadow just a little more. Right there. It's all about tweaking. Feel free to zoom in as much as you want to really perfect it. Because if this logo is going to go on vans and large posters and banners, you really want to make sure there's not any flaws or any issues, because that's going to show up. The larger piece this is going to be on, the more those imperfections show up. So zoom in 1000%. Just really make sure you got it exactly how you like it. let's take a look at all our options and figure out which one we think will be the final choice.